Do you want him to be handsome, rich, or faithful? Pick two. Honestly, it's begin with the end in mind. It's like, what is it that you actually want? The problem is most women don't actually know what they want. The kind of guys that they want have standards for their lives because in order for them to achieve great things, they need to have standards for themselves. And if they have standards for themselves, chances are they have standards for the people around them.
A man who's like hustling and doing things and building stuff, you're not going to be able to be like, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. He could get a dog. It would be easier. I'm sorry, it could. It would be so much easier.
Or why would he pick you is the other thing,
yeah.
Right? It's
You've
like, make it make sense, right? A lamb is not dangerous to anything, whereas a lion chooses whether to be dangerous or whether not to be dangerous. And the lack of a choice is not a virtue. Well, here's the thing that they leave out. It isn't that they want flowers and and trips and chocolates and stuff. It isn't that they want that. It's they want chocolates and roses and trips from a guy that they're attracted to. That's the difference. So today we're talking about boundaries. It's one of those things where we talk about this often and we get a lot of comments in the TikTok like, oh, you're so controlling for having boundaries. It's like, no, I just have standards. It's a little bit different. And you like the fact that there are standards and there are rules that help you to know what's going on.
But all in the same breath, you won't settle.
No, right? And it turns out that like the kind of guys that they want have standards for their lives because in order for them to achieve great things, they need to have standards for themselves. And if they have standards for themselves, chances are they have standards for the people around them. And that's just a fact of life. So we have some things to react to today before we get onto it.
What's the best advice you have for men and women when it comes on to, finding a partner?
First is for women. You gotta know what you want. If you want a CEO, someone who is financially successful, that guy is not gonna be at 5 o'clock at your house having dinner with you and cooking with the children. So you gotta know, if you want a powerful man is busy.
Wouldn't she also lose attraction if he's always available to her?
Not if you're living in $1 million home. And that's what people need to understand. Women need to decide, what do they want? If they want a provider, if they want to have financial status, if they want to have a good life for their children, and money and status is important, then you're going to be with a type of guy that doesn't have quantity of attention, but will have quality.
And the best advice you have for men?
When it comes to relationships, men need to look for women that they can have purpose with, that they can build something with, and not just the pleasure and the fun and the excitement of the moment. Because when there's a lot of money, everybody's like, ha, 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 that's pleasure. But when things get tough, they're not there for you. But if you're with a woman who's also committed to your purpose, even when the going gets tough, she'll be there for you.
She's like, what do you want? Like, you can't have all the things. It's like those triangles where it says pick two.
It's like, do you want him to be handsome, rich, or faithful? Pick two. It's like, well, okay. Sometimes that's a crazy thing, right?
Yeah.
But like, honestly, it's begin with the end in mind. It's like, what is it that you actually want? The problem is most women don't actually know what they want.
Well, they just say, I want everything. And
I want all
like,
the things.
Yeah, how's that working for you?
Sure.
So far, like, how's that working for you? Otherwise, you're going to have to be, a 20-something-year-old with a almost 50-something-year-old. Then, yeah, he has the time for you.
Sure.
Because he's already done all the things.
Because he's done everything.
Yeah.
And he's living on the fat of his previous work.
But yeah, if you're going to sit there and want, like, a man who's, like, hustling and doing things and building stuff, you're not going to be able to be like, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. He could get a dog. It would be easier. I'm sorry, it could. It would be so much easier.
Or why would he pick you is the other thing, right? It's
You've
like, make it make sense.
Yeah.
As far as the advice for men, like, makes a lot of sense. Like, find somebody that's willing to go ahead and hop on board with your purpose. Mm-hmm. And then it pretty much lines up with what we talk about a lot as far as the captain and the passenger. And the captain builds the boat, has a purpose, and sets sail for adventure. And the passenger decides whether she's on for the ride or not. Mm-hmm. And whether she's ride or die.
But I can speak from experience. If you want a man who's trying to build stuff and you're on board for the vision, you're gonna have to let him be. And you can't have like, oh, pay attention to me. Oh, let's go do this all the time. Yeah, so your time is together is more
Condensed?
concentrated. Yeah, concentrated. But the thing is, he'll still be there. Like if you're there when he gets home and you want to be like together and stuff, that's great. Like you will have a great time.
Right.
But don't expect every little time, every little thing you want attention. Otherwise, you're going to get into that cycle where you go annoy him for attention, and it's just going to be all that we're going to talk about later.
Well, it reminds me of children misbehaving in order to get attention. And
they act like toddlers.
They act like toddlers. And what they really want is attention, and they don't care whether it's good attention or bad attention.
Yeah. They ask for love in the most unloving way.
Kids are just like that. Mm-hmm. And like all of our kids did it.
Yeah. But like everybody's like romanticizing that. Like there are so many like reels and TikToks and stuff about like, oh, I'm going to go annoy my husband because I want attention. And it's like, why are we doing this?
Yeah,
like,
why are you trying to distract him from what he's doing?
But why are you glorifying this?
And you're putting it out in public.
Yeah, that you're a toddler.
Right. Well, but the thing is, it gets the clicks, it gets the views.
It does, because everybody's like, oh yeah, that's totally me. I've seen so many, like I'm like, all right, let me go see the comments. And it's just people tagging each other.
Sure enough.
That's totally us. I'm like,
why are we admitting this thing to be the case? That doesn't sound like a good look.
That's why the divorce rate is what it is.
Right? Let's go ahead and go to the next one.
When I read Genesis slow, I find out that when God presented Eve to Adam, God did not say, Adam, here's your wife. Adam saw Eve and said, hey, that's my wife right there. He ain't know her at all. But he said, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Now, when a man, a real man, y'all, says they want something, they go after it. It don't take 3 years of an engagement. It don't take 4 years. If I'm truly... Now, the problem is, because y'all not getting off, I'm not just going to bash the men, amen. The problem is we're living in a generation, first of all, Eve was presented exactly the way God made her. So a lot of people are not presenting themselves in the fashion that God created them to be.
There goes the crowd.
Amen.
They're so mad. We're back to it.
All right. Sit down. Let me cook. Amen.
Let me cook.
Let me cook. Amen. So the first thing is you got to be okay with God made you to be. The second thing is for the man needs to be able to identify. Amen. And the only way he was able to identify is when he was okay saying he need help.
There it is.
Amen.
There it is.
It's dead on this side of the room. It's okay. It's okay. So this is just two concepts. The men got to get rid of pride, and the women has to stop competing with other women's view of who they are, and realize that you're fasting for us.
So this is interesting, right?
Yeah.
So he goes ahead and calls out dudes to start as far as like, hey, not committing right away. But the thing is, like, it makes a lot of sense to hold back and be investigating whether or not she is worthy of your commitment.
Well, the thing is,
but 3 and 4 years is probably not that long.
But this also is evaluation with the intent to marry.
Right.
That is very different than most of modern culture today. And that's why there are such long engagements and all of this stuff.
Sure.
Like, the only reason why we were engaged as long as we were is like, we were still kind of trying to figure out what we wanted to be when we grow up.
Well, that and like, I didn't have the means to support us yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, and that was the thing is, hey, if we're going to be married, I'm going to be supporting you.
Yeah. But there was never a whether or not we were going to be married.
Sure. At some point, that was pretty much locked in.
Yeah,
it was just
pretty
a matter
in
of
short order.
It was just a matter of whether we could actually execute on that plan.
Yeah, that was the only thing.
And
because we evaluated with the intent to marry.
Right. And then, so that was the deal on the men, and then the deal on the women.
Oh my gosh.
Of course, they were pissed off that he was talking about Eve being as God made her.
Yeah.
Right? Which means, she's fit. She's exactly as she is intended to be.
She didn't have 5 BBLs.
Well, she didn't have 5 BBLs, and she also didn't have like 20 cheeseburgers that morning. Like, it's just one of those deals. And like in that community, that's a really big problem, even more so than the United States writ large, right? It's a huge deal. And so just that little call out, you could see how the crowd was just like, nah, we're not about this. And it's one of those things where both people have to bring something to the table. And the deal with the guys is he went back on them and he's like, look, pride is getting in your way. And I think for a lot of guys, they want somebody to be a support network for them.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty natural proclivity. And I think that it's a matter of whether they trust that this person is that person.
Yeah, whether they're going to be a help or a hindrance.
Yeah, whether they're going to cause problems, right?
That's the thing.
And so here's a little something that we use as a way of thinking through the incremental changes that usually come from people trying to violate your boundaries.
I knocked myself in the head with the phone.
That actually took a while. I had to put more and more nickels into his handset until he got used to the weight, and then I just took them all out.
So there you go. It's like you go ahead and do just little things over time until they get used to it, and then you just pull the rug out from under them, and then bam, they're smacking themselves in the face with the phone.
How did that happen?
What happened?
It's like when our cats, like something happens and you're like, oh, you're going to fall down. Oh, you're doing it. And then they finally do, and they like, and you just go, what happened? Oh my goodness.
That's so sad. Whatever will you do? All right.
Love whenever I can get an office reference in.
Yeah. So today we're talking about boundaries. And here's the idea is if you don't set boundaries, the world will set them for you and you won't like the result. And whether it's the world that's setting them for you or whether it's the woman you chose to be with or your boss or your coworkers or whoever else is trying to go ahead and enforce boundaries on you instead of you setting the boundaries for yourself.
Someone or something will do it for you.
Something's going to happen and you are not going to like the results. So the idea is to go over some things like nice guy patterns. For example, things like people pleasing, avoiding conflict, and not really standing out so it's easy for you to get overlooked. And the idea is we want to go ahead and express and teach you guys how to create boundaries that will inspire respect, will lead to attractiveness, and will lead to moral clarity and strength. Does that sound about right?
Yep.
All right. So why do nice guys get crushed? What do you think when women are saying, hey, we're all the nice guys, and then they break up with somebody and say, oh,
he's too nice.
He's too nice. What does that mean? What's the deal with that?
Well, we've alluded to it a number of times. Women are like toddlers.
Okay.
They, it's literally you give them an inch and they walk all over you. Like they'll take all the space that they can. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. Like I don't think there's much such thing as women going, I need to take up space. You do naturally. You will just fill the void. If there is silence, you will fill it with noise.
Whereas like us guys, we could just deal with silence and peace and quiet usually pretty well.
Yep.
We don't need all kinds of nonsense going on around us.
Yep. I mean, look at how normally, especially as a mother, I have a house full of noise. I have 4 children, teenagers and little kids, and they are just noisy by nature. Mm-hmm. But I have the ability somehow, sometimes, to just tune it all out. And then all of a sudden they're like, are they okay? I'm like, oh, yeah, they're fine. It's just like, sometimes it's just like you get used to the noise too.
Sure. Well, it's interesting, right? Because this reminds me of how sometimes the kids will get used to the sound of your voice and they won't pay attention. And then you go ahead and complain to me about something. And I just go ahead and say something in a normal tone of voice. And then
they're like,
and they stop and they listen and then they get themselves figured out.
Yeah.
But it's the same concept. It's like you get so accustomed to something that you just tune it out.
Yeah. I mean, I especially noticed that when during the pandemic and we had our youngest in the NICU and I was rooming in for like 10 days. And, I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. I wasn't allowed to see any of you guys. So I was pretty much going to the NICU and then coming down and I had to stay in my room the whole time. And I only talked to the people who cleaned my room, who brought my food, and the NICU nurses and the pediatrician. Like, those are the only people I interacted with sporadically through the day.
Sure.
And the silence was deafening. Like, I went from a house full of noise to silence, and the silence was just unsettling.
Oh,
to
yeah.
the point where I did actually play The Office almost on repeat just to fill the noise. And I would actually fall asleep with the show playing. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's just interesting, right? Because like at some point, it would break you.
Yeah.
And we had to go ahead and check you out early just because you could not handle being in that situation for an extended period of
Yeah,
time.
I had a little bit of a mental breakdown in my postpartum checkup, like a week in, and they were just like, "How you doing?" And I'm like, "Ooh." Where the doctor's like, "Okay, I'm gonna give you some Lexapro, and you're gonna take it. I can't tell you to take it, but you're gonna take it." I was like, "Yes, I am." It was bad. It was really bad, and that was when it showed me. I was like, "I can't do this. I'm going to be a better me if I don't put myself in this situation because I think I have to."
Sure, and you were better off just going ahead and making different trips to the NICU.
It turns out he didn't actually. Thank
was
God.
he was doing just fine.
Thank God he got it figured out and he got to come home that week. So it was really awesome.
Right.
But anyway, I digress. Sorry.
Cool. So back to the topic at hand. So the big thing is the nice guy myth is pervasive in our society that tells guys, hey, just be yourself. Just go ahead and give her what she wants. Listen to what she asks for. She's going to tell you. It's a lie.
Where's Akbar? It's a trap.
It's a trap. And like the idea of just giving her whatever she wants for the sake of avoiding conflict is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, that gets you in the do enough nice stuff for to have the sex, please.
Yeah. And that's not the kind of dynamic that is healthy for either men or women, right? Because sure, on the surface, it looks like women are getting everything they want until all of a sudden he's too nice and they divorce him because he is doing all the things. He's just not somebody she's in love with anymore.
And the novelty wears off.
Because she wants somebody that's going to lead her, not somebody that's going to be a doormat for her. Mm-hmm. Because if he's going to be a doormat for her, who else is he going to be a doormat for in life?
Nobody should be a doormat. Nobody. Women should not be doormats. Men should not be doormats.
But it's one of those things that when you allow yourself to get into that circumstance, it shows other people how to treat you. And that's just the bottom line, is when you go ahead and use these conflict avoidance mechanisms, or you try to go ahead and people please your way into someone's good graces, you're going to bear the consequences of that.
Yeah.
And so we would just recommend to have and establish boundaries. We'll get into what those kind of things are and how to go about doing that a little bit later, but we want to go ahead and address kind of the pervasive problems that we see in the society first. The reality is that, like, trying to people please somebody breeds resentment in them. They will eventually grow to resent you and disrespect you and walk all over you. And I don't know about you, but I think most men are not looking for that in their relationship. And,
Definitely not men.
right?
Especially.
And it's really interesting because in my group of friends, there are a couple of guys, and I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? What's going on here? And a lot of times, like when we first got to be friends in like 2020, they were like, what are you talking about? And then slowly over time,
They start to see it.
they start to see it, and like it's kind of like the glass shattering.
The glass shattering and
And-
how I met your mother.
Yeah. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, they started like really thinking through what they wanted to see in their relationships. And like one of them was married for 15 years. The other one had been married for 25 years at the time. And it's like, yeah, you can go ahead and change your behaviors now and reclaim your self-respect. And they've been doing a lot better. And that's
great.
a good thing. And it turns out it's just you train other people how to treat you. And that's the deal. Now, there's a psychological dynamic in play that people should understand, that if you have no boundaries, then you are looked at by the society as if you have no backbone. and people will go ahead and treat you as if you're weak.
Especially as a man.
Sure, it's like the difference between being a lion and being a lamb, right? A lamb is not dangerous to anything, whereas a lion chooses whether to be dangerous or whether not to be dangerous. And the lack of a choice is not a virtue, right? There's nothing that is virtuous about not being able to be violent. There's something to be virtuous, or there's virtue in being capable of great destruction and choosing to use it at an appropriate time. And the idea here is that people respect what they protect, right? So, for example, with my time, I am protective of my time. And so the people around me have grown to understand to respect my time and that I will not let them waste it for any like unreasonable reason. If you're asking for my attention, there should be a reason why you're asking for it.
Nobody's entitled to access to you.
Correct. And that's kind of important. And like, that's not to say that if you have an emergency, I'm not going to pick up the phone. Of course, I'm going to pick up the phone if you have an emergency.
For me specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, most people's emergencies aren't actually emergencies.
Yeah. But also, I'm sitting here and valuing, do I really need to bother you with this?
And that's something that grew on you over time.
Yeah.
Like, I remember early on in our marriage, the threshold for what an emergency was really low.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there is no way this is an actual emergency. Are you serious right now? And we'd get into a fight about it. And then afterwards, we'd have to go ahead and sit down and be like, look, you have the ability to make these decisions and you're a smart person. Make the decision. Come tell me later. And we'll go ahead and make adjustments afterwards if needed. Not a big deal. And that solved most of the problem.
Yeah.
Is giving you that authority to make decisions within the bounds. It's kind of like our employees. The average associate, like, if there's a $5 problem, I don't need to be bothered with the $5 problem. If it costs less than $5 to fix the thing, just fix the thing. And with lower management, it's like, hey, if it's $250 or less, just fix the thing and tell me about it afterwards. And upper management, like, hey, if the thing's $2,500, just fix it. It's all good. We can talk about it on Monday. It's not a big deal. Because I have trust and faith that they have a brain in their skull to make decent decisions.
It's kind of the prerequisite for being on your team.
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah, we want to go ahead and make sure that they have a good mindset about what is helpful to the business and what is helpful to the team as a whole. And then once they have that in mind and that's their frame of reference, they're likely to make better decisions for the sake of the team. And that's really the idea there.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding, how little turnover we've had.
Oh, yeah.
And the reasons for the little turnover we've had.
For sure.
Have been just ones beyond the, it's not like, this is stupid, I don't want to work for this anymore, I don't want to do this. There have been a couple that have been like, well,
we're just
bye.
not a fit, right?
Bye. It's like, cool.
And the thing is, not everybody's a fit.
Yeah.
Right?
But generally, you have you and the rest of the team in the business have the ability to see that kind of, you all know who you've picked, your people close to you, and then they know what you're looking for on your behalf. And that is the best thing. It's like, build your team intelligently, deliberately, intentionally.
Yeah. What's really cool is this time around when we did hiring, this is the first hiring action that I wasn't directly involved in. So I had the general manager and another manager go ahead and conduct the actual interviews. And it was really fun to go ahead and be on the outside, being able to listen in on the interview and then provide both of them feedback. Because normally I'm the one that's conducting the interview.
Yeah.
But now, like, the manager is kicking butt and taking names and stepping up into, his role and his power.
It's just one more role you can step back from.
Yeah, I don't need to be physically there to do that because he's empowered to do those things.
Which is great. It's growth.
Yeah, that's the idea. So the third piece of why nice guys get crushed in our society is that society tells men to just go along to get along at every step of the way.
It's so gross.
It reminds me of Kristoff from Frozen, where at the end of the movie, Anna wants him to kiss her, and he's like, "Okay, well, maybe if you wanna."
And then she goes and kisses him.
And she's got to go ahead and kiss him
Because he's still okay, Porky Pig.
Sure, he's still kind of like a bumbling guy and not like, even though he's shown as kind of like the male lead, he's not really leading in that, right? He's just kind of like accepting the will of the women around him. And like, oh, hey, he's got to fix a thing every now and then. Okay, so he's got to go fix the thing. And that's it. He's just useful for his brawn and not so much for his character or anything like that. So this reminds me of the idea that anything but being agreeable, a lot of times in our society, is looked at as toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Right? Where just being able to be direct with somebody and to have standards for yourself
And standards, having a purpose in mind, having a vision.
And having standards for the others around you is considered to be toxic. And it's like, why would you
That
not
alpha
have standards?
energy is so toxic.
Right, but why would you not? Why would you not have standards for people around you? Like, why would you allow yourself to be surrounded by people that are not on the same page as you or not in a complementary position with you?
Well, what's interesting is when women do the same thing.
What do
And
you
they
mean?
have standards.
Okay.
They won't settle and all of this. But having that plus not allowing for men to have that, that's what I would call toxic femininity. Toxic feminist. Toxic feminism. There you go.
Sure. Now, if you were to go ahead and boil it down to its root, what would you say are like the 2 or 3 key things that you would point to and say, that's toxically feminine?
The double standards.
Okay.
Definitely. The toddler behavior.
Okay.
Like temper
the
tantrums.
Lack of
and-
accountability?
Yeah, like
Okay.
what is it called? Emotional terrorism.
Oh, emotional terrorism, yeah.
Yeah, like those ultimatums and all of that stuff. And then not practicing what you preach, the whole like he's too nice. I want somebody nice, but he's too nice. It's just like
Sure. It's like, so what does right look like?
it's the waffling, I guess. It's the waffling.
Sure, but
Just blah, 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 blah.
it's funny because our society gives women a pass to go ahead and change their mind whenever.
Yeah, but if men do it, they're weak.
Right. Society has different expectations of men. Society has expectations that men should be static and unmoving in a lot of places, and that there should be something like monumental to cause them to move. Right? Where I think it's interesting, where if you go ahead and look at like the average politician in the United States, over the past 30 years, their views on a lot of things have changed over a 30-year span. And nobody really goes ahead and faults them for it. They might go ahead and say that they're a flip-flopper or whatever, but the idea that you're not supposed to change when new information comes to light is ridiculous, no matter what side of the aisle you're on.
Yeah.
But our culture has an expectation that dudes should not change, even if new information is presented to them.
But then when they actually live up to that, they're like the whole toxic masculinity thing.
Sure.
They're overbearing, they're controlling, they're,
So one thing that I thought was interesting is on the Mike Sartain podcast, there was a lady that was talking about how one of the big things that is lacking in men in our society is the ability to be social in a proper way. And I think that most men intrinsically understand that there are things associated with making sure that you're healthy and making sure that you can be a productive member of society in terms of like our economy. But a lot of dudes really don't know how to interact with other people well. And so like the idea of game and the idea of like how to woo a woman are things that are often lost on dudes. But then like these women will go ahead and shame men for trying to learn how to go ahead and speak properly and how to go ahead and play the game with folks. And so when you want them to be a provider, a protector, and all of this, and you want to shame them for learning how to be other things, that's crazy to me. Because guys have to learn how to be healthy. Guys have to learn how to be productive members of society. It's not like something that we just naturally have. And I think that a lot of times when women go ahead and give men crap for learning how to be better with women, they fail to understand that men have to build themselves from the ground up to begin with. across everything in life. And so to go ahead and shame them for trying to look for resources on how to have boundaries, how to enforce your boundaries, how to be a more masculine man, how to be a guy that's worthy of respect, shaming that is insane to me.
They're trying to shame everything. I don't understand it. Like, why do we need to just, I don't like that, I'm going to shame you for it. It's like, you just go there. Like, they just go right there. But what I've noticed is, like, just recently, really, in the last, like, couple years, I've seen that shift from, you know, a man tries to approach a woman and then they go, I have a boyfriend, leave me alone. Like, I'll wear a fake engagement ring so they don't approach me, blah, blah, blah. And then crying about it, you know?
Okay, yeah.
Like, oh, why can't I get a man? It's like, you scared them away.
Oh, you're talking about how the pendulum is swung the other way?
And now it's like all these women complaining about why men don't approach them. It's like, you shame them into not doing this.
You spend the last 5 years telling us not to do it, and then you go ahead and cry when we don't do it. It's like, okay, sure, make it make sense.
So again, I want somebody nice, but I'm gonna leave him because he's too nice.
Well, here's the thing that they leave out whenever they talk about this is it isn't that they want flowers and trips and chocolates and stuff. It isn't that they want that. It's they want chocolates and roses and trips from a guy that they're attracted to. That's the difference. It's like if some like regular Joe Schmo walks up and tries to give them the world, it's disgusting to them. Whereas if it's somebody that they're already attracted to, everything that they do on top of that is magnified. It's so much nicer because it's coming from this guy that they already love, admire, and respect.
And it makes sense with the swipe culture.
Oh, yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about why boundaries are important. Like, why do we do these things? And there's 4 general purposes to having boundaries. We've got personal integrity. We've got having a masculine frame, having an idea and looking towards relational health, and having, areas of energy and focus are the 4 basic areas around which you have boundaries. So let's go ahead and go through them one by one. So in terms of personal integrity, what does that mean to you?
That you do what is right in accordance with your values and objectives, no matter if it's difficult or unpopular.
Sure. So you have a vision for what you want in life.
And you have actual moral tenets that are at the seat of your entire being, that motivate what you do.
I think that's something that's really hard for people in society is right now we have whole generations that are really having problems with having bedrock foundational principles on which they can rely. And I think that's what's going on in so many people in the youth where they don't know what they actually believe in. It's like they go ahead and believe in society and what society is telling them, but then they see the consequences that come from that from the people that are 5 and 10 years older than them. And they're looking at it like, I don't want to be that. And they're looking for answers to a lot of life's questions. And that's kind of why we're here, is to go ahead and provide a moral framework for people to go ahead and live their life by. And whether they want to go ahead and take the cafeteria approach or whether they want to go ahead and take it, lock, stock, and barrel, that's up to them, right?
That's the foundational substance of this, like, hero's journey we talk about all the time.
Right. So aside from personal integrity, I think that the idea of masculine frame is the ability to be strong and say no to people. Whether it is people in your life that are at your place of employment, whether it is your friends, whether it is acquaintances, whether it is random people on the street, whether it's your wife. Like the ability to say no and to hold fast and be willing to bear whatever consequences that come with it is something that really helps you be strong and grounded. And I'll give you a really good example is every now and then we'll go ahead and get into it on something. And when you ask me for something and you think that it's something important from your point of view, and I take your advice into consideration and I say, look, I've looked at it it's not going to happen, you don't often go ahead and throw a temper tantrum.
No.
At this point in our life. Earlier on in our marriage, you would.
Yeah.
And I found that the times that I capitulated, it was to my detriment. I found that almost every time that I went back on what I said, things turned out worse for both of us. Whereas over time, I had found that just by sticking to my guns and knowing why I made the decision and that it was a good decision, not only for now, but for the long term, things worked out much better for both of us. Because you got to trust over time that the decision-making process for me is not about the here and now. It's about not only now, but in the future. Mm-hmm. And it made it easier for you to go ahead and come alongside when a lot of people in our society would just throw a temper tantrum and be like, oh, well, you're not getting anything tonight. You're going to sleep on the couch. Whereas, like, in our relationship, that's not a card you play.
No.
Right? And even so, like, even if we're having disagreements, we can go ahead and disagree and come back and reapproach a couple of times, even if it takes 2 or 3 times in a day, is we'll go ahead and get through it one way or the other.
Yeah. Definitely when we started, it was a point of like, okay, things are getting too heated. There's too many feelings involved. It's not being productive. It's like, all right, separate corners. And we'd literally make an appointment, like a time and a place to like sit back down and round 2. Like,
right.
And however many times it took. Mm-hmm. And it took that actually setting that appointment. Now it's just more natural because we've been at it longer.
Sure. And then now, like, we just don't argue that much about most things anyway. And then anytime I'm telling you no, for the most part, you trust that I've thought it through as to why I'm telling you no. And so it's not a big deal to you. Whereas in the past, you would fight back against it.
Because you would just return, I think what you would just return so quickly with no. And then it was just like, you didn't even think about it. Like, no, it doesn't take that long for him to think about it.
Yeah.
He does think about it. It just doesn't happen the way you think it would.
Right. It's like you don't hand me a spaghetti ball and I have to go ahead and take it like strand of spaghetti at a time. I can go ahead and look at it, look at the net results of it and go, no, that net result is terrible. We're not doing that. We're going to go ahead and do this.
Next.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Right? Because we are deductive problem solvers, it turns out, that men are.
Yeah.
Right? So even if in the past you have told your woman no and she's thrown it in your face, you're likely to be much better off still telling her no if you genuinely believe that no is the right answer. And just stick to it and be willing to let her know that you have considered her point of view and that even with that considered, the answer is no. And you won't have to go ahead and provide that explanation every time. In fact, sometimes there's just not enough time to do that.
Yeah.
And like you can go ahead and reconvene later and explain the whys to the no. But at some point, the idea is in a healthy relationship, your wife will understand that you are here making decisions for both of you, not just for yourself.
Just like with child rearing, like sometimes there isn't time. You just need it. I need you to do this. Mm-hmm. And they go, why? It's like, I just need you to do this. And then, I could tell you why afterward, but it's time sensitive. But what's awesome is that you give it enough time, like our teenagers. Mm-hmm. If I tell them we need to do this, they do it. But then they're like, why did you have us? And it's like, all right, I can tell you now. And they're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. It's really cool to like have that like, oh yeah, like I can trust your 30,000 foot judgment on this because, it's reasonable. Mm-hmm. It's been nice. I think that really does set them up for future relationships too.
Right. And it's interesting because they get to go ahead and see a lot of the background of what goes on with us. And it's interesting to see how our oldest daughter sees how you react to different things. Like when you come at things correctly and things work out well for you, she has the example of how things can go in a relationship. And then she also sees
By the same token,
the counter example of, when you come at something crazy and then I go ahead and say, no, you need to try again. She sees that. And I'm not afraid to tell you to try again, because it's like, I know who's in control of this thing and it's going to be fine. I just need you to do your part. And when you do your part, things end up better for all of us.
She said more than a couple of times. She's like, I'm glad my parents didn't let me get away with everything. I'm glad. And sometimes she's like, I'm glad they just beat my ass. I was like, really? She's like, no, truly, seriously. I've seen some of the way the kids, even the kids my age, act. And it's just shocking to me. It's like, your dad just told you no. Why are you like flailing and like having a temper tantrum? Seriously.
Yeah.
She's just shocked because it's like, look, man, not everybody functions as a family the way we do.
Right. And the thing is, like, there's a lot of dudes that have not cultivated this family culture and this family standard. And so they get to reap the benefits or consequences of whatever they have cultivated in their own life. Just like everything else in life is, every action and decision has consequences, and not every consequence is a bad thing.
Speaking of which,
so we'll talk about relational health now. The idea of having boundaries will go ahead and affect who stays in the circle of trust and who is outside of the circle of trust, right? Because when you operate from a position of strength and you have boundaries on what you will and will not tolerate in your presence.
and when you hold those boundaries,
Right. People around you will notice. And whether you are filtering them out or they are filtering you out, it is probably for your mutual benefit. Now, I'm not saying that you want to go ahead and be so, uptight or so odious that people don't want to work with you.
yeah,
What I'm saying is that there are certain things that are worthy of holding convictions on. And there are other things that are matters of preference. And we can go ahead and agree to disagree on matters of preference.
yeah. My mom always says, pick your battles.
Right? Well, and it's interesting because this reminds me of a classic saying that is often quoted incorrectly. The idea of the customer is always right.
Oh, gosh.
The customer is not always right unless it's about matters of preference, right? Like, I'm not going to go ahead and tell you that you have to get this red car when you prefer a blue car. They can all be the same thing. And if I'm trying to sell you a red car and you want a blue car, the transaction's not going to happen because I'm failing to understand that you have a deep-seated preference that is different from my own. And I would be ridiculous to try to die on that hill. And I think a lot of people in this world have no idea how to identify these differences for what they are.
Especially in this culture. People are just so entitled. It's ridiculous.
Well, there's that, and like people not understanding the difference between what is real and what is imaginary. Like, a lot of people have no idea how to differentiate the narratives that people spin and the actual reality in front of them.
Well, especially in terms of like the customer or whatever, they often like substitute preference for policy.
What do you? That's an interesting point. So go ahead and talk a little bit more on that.
So the whole like red car, blue car,
Okay.
where it's like, I will sell you a red car, but I have to get it shipped in and it will be here in like 5 days.
Okay.
And okay, well, if you do that, you can give me like $30,000 off the price, right? And it's like, no, I can't do that. I can make it a little bit, but you didn't have what I want right now. So you need to like this much. It's like, we can't offer that huge of a discount. Like, that is not how we do things, because it's a business, got to make money, right?
Right. And when you're ordering in,
That kind of thing.
typically you're not offering, huge incentives or discounts anyway,
No,
which is ridiculous.
but it's just like that, where it's like, well, you can do this for me, right?
Okay. So you're talking about the entitlement associated with asking for the concession in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay.
That you're asking that you should be able to get it or get something like that. It's like, no, that's not how we do things. I'm sorry.
Sure.
And then like gonna put them on blast on social media or on the internet because they didn't do what you wanted.
Sure. Which is not to say that you shouldn't negotiate. You absolutely should negotiate on any major purchase.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's to the point where
that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the idea of like feeling entitled to having something.
That's the thing where it's in direct like gross violation of the way a place operates.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. But that is also why nowadays I read reviews on everything that I buy, especially, when there's a choice of a bunch of different things. Because there could be one with a really, really bad reviews all the time, but it's because user error or people like expecting something that it does not provide.
Yeah, that reminds me of Google reviews on businesses because sometimes people just get upsetty spaghetti about like some minute detail.
So they have a whole drone of friends that come in and do the same thing, even though they've never crossed the threshold of said place.
Yeah, do the 1-star review bomb.
Yep.
Or they'll go ahead and like make up stories about stuff that never happened. And it's really interesting to like read through them because a lot of times they're not well written.
Yeah.
Right? You could tell in their failure to tell a story well that tells you the kind of quality person they are.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas if you go ahead and take a few moments to look at the 5-star reviews that they got and to read through those, you'll see a stark contrast more often than not.
Definitely.
And it's well beyond the difference between, hey, it's a 1-star and a 5-star. It's the way that people express themselves can be very different as well. Now, the last kind of idea of boundaries is to protect like your energy and focus. So this is like what we were talking about before about protecting your time. And I think that there was one thing that for a couple of my employees, I had to go ahead and teach how to be a proper secretary in terms of when people are calling the business and asking to speak to me, right? I don't speak to just anybody, right? There are people in different roles of responsibilities that handle different things. Very rarely am I needed for anything because I've built my business intentionally for that purpose.
And usually those kind of people, they're like, can I speak to the owner? Because one, game stores are by far and wide owner operated.
Right.
Like there's not a whole lot of staff. But also like telemarketers or whatever, they're like, can I speak to the owner? Blah, 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 blah.
They want to get to a decision maker, so they're not speaking to a gatekeeper.
And it's like, if you just go, oh, well, they wanted to speak to you. It's like, what is it about?
Right. And that was kind of that was how the conversation came about is they would go ahead and hand me the phone and I'm like, hi, who is this? And it would be some marketer. And I'm like, I am not going to talk to you. Goodbye. I'm not interested in your services or your products. Goodbye. And then I would go ahead and have this conversation of, cool. So this is your role in this. Your role is to handle things at the lowest level possible. Here are the realm of things that you can solve on your end that are reasonable to solve on your end. If it's something that goes beyond that, here are some heuristics or some shortcuts of what to do. I need you to go ahead and be able to answer who, what, where, when, why, and how. That's what I need you to go ahead and be able to answer or ask the question so that I have background and you are equipped to know who that phone call should go to. Mm-hmm. And ever since we went through that with these two employees, they have done a fantastic job. And it has been great because I've equipped them with boundaries and skills and talents and abilities for them to perform well in that position that they're in. Mm-hmm. And they were happy about like receiving praise for the stark difference that came of just handling this by a proper procedure.
Yeah, and the kudos for making your life easier.
Right. And the idea is, they're protecting my time. And now they take it as a personal mission of theirs to protect my time. And that's a wonderful thing.
It's just like for years, like I've had the phone number you previously held. So it was registered to you and it still is. But like people call all the time and there's telemarketers. And as soon as they ask for you on my phone, I know instantly it's like, no, this is not his phone. And I just hang up because I'm like, no, this is not happening. With the exception of one thing and like 10, 15 years.
Sure.
It's just like,
And most of the time, if they need to get to me, they already have my information
Yeah.
in some way, shape, manner, or form. And they're just trying to go ahead and go through their call list and just, it's probably just a robo-dialer, if we're being really honest, is like, hey, it's just automatically dialing you and
yeah.
you just happen to be on the other end of the line. So those are 4, purposes to have boundaries is, once again, personal integrity. You got some conviction that you're holding to that you want to go ahead and establish a boundary for. Dudes can have masculine frame where you say no to things that are outside of those convictions. You go ahead and provide boundaries so that the people in your circle are worthy of being in your circle, and people that don't mesh with you stay outside of your circle of trust. And then protecting your energy and focus. So let's go ahead and talk about, now that we talked about purposes, let's talk about the kinds of boundaries. Like, how do they look practically?
Cool. Just as a matter of perspective for those 4 things, if you think about it, every time you give way and you say yes to something, you have to say no to something else, because your resources are finite, no matter what.
correct.
You only have 24 hours in a day. You only have so much energy. You can only accomplish so much in a day. So really think about it as like a bank account of, time and energy and resources. Do you really want to spend your resources on something dumb? Like,
Sure.
that doesn't get you closer to your objectives and your vision and, in alignment with, you want to compromise yourself. Like, why would you do that? So it's just like, every time you think about saying yes to a thing, know that you're going to say no to something else, because you just can't do it all.
Sure. Or you can consider it another way is, there is always a cost to saying yes. There's always a cost to saying no as well, right? Every decision has consequences. And as long as you just understand that going into it, you're going to be much better off for it. So here's 4 types of boundaries that dudes should enforce. Physical boundaries, we got time boundaries, emotional boundaries, and boundaries about your morals and your values. So we talked a little bit about these things, but we're going to go ahead and give it a little bit more meat. So physical boundaries, it could be things like, hey, if somebody gets into your physical space, you might want to go ahead and check them. Right? And it's interesting how the way that you carry yourself can often be something that expresses to people without saying a single word about this kind of boundary, right? And one example that you brought up to me yesterday when we were talking is like going through an airport, right? Is usually I will just walk with purpose and crowds,
I just follow.
And crowds will naturally open up seams for me to go through.
It's amazing to watch, y'all, I swear. It's just like he just walks and I just follow. I'm just going behind, stay behind. And just the seas part. It's wild. Because not a whole lot of people walk like that. Just existing in the world.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's okay to take space as a guy. And I think so many times I've seen so many things in media shaming dudes for taking up space. Like, there's a difference between taking up, your proper space and then taking up like way too much space. Like, for example, one thing that brings this to mind is the idea of sitting on like a subway, and guys, having a little bit of a leg spread so that you could be comfortable is one thing. Guys sitting on 3 seats and like laying with your legs wide open is completely different.
On a full subway car.
On a full subway car, that's completely different. Yeah. Like, that is completely inappropriate for you to do. But at the same time, if people expect you to go ahead and like keep your legs all the way closed and scrunch up and like fold your shoulders in, like, no, that's not what you should be doing as a guy. You should take up your proper space and be okay and comfortable in your space. But I think a lot of guys just get bullied over time to take up less and less space. And guys get shamed into taking all that space.
All of these, any of these, if you try and like assert your existence, not even dominance, existence,
right?
You get shamed for things.
Other examples of physical boundaries are things like making time to go to the gym and like have healthy habits And that you can also consider that as a little bit of a time boundary, but I consider it more of a physical boundary because I am caring for my physical health and I have set aside time for that to be a priority. And I think that having that locked in really helps with your frame of mind in a lot of ways.
Like when I read what was it, Atomic Habits, like you can miss once, never miss twice.
Right.
Because then you might as well just not.
Because you're breaking a habit at that point.
A ton of excuses not to, yeah.
Sure. So speaking of time boundaries, this is like refusing to let other people waste your time. So going back to the example of the employees like doing a really good job of learning how to be a proper secretary and how to be a proper, like how to answer the phone properly in such a way.
Gatekeeper.
And be a proper gatekeeper for time and attention. That is really important. And I think for both of them, they didn't have a proper like understanding of what that meant.
Yeah. They didn't realize, it wasn't malicious or like, I'm sitting here wasting your time. No, it was like, I didn't even think about it that way.
Right. It had not occurred to them that that was a reality of the situation. Right.
Well, just like that one guy.
Which one guy?
Who was like, oh, you don't want to deal with that.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting. That brings up another story of a customer that had asked me about carrying a product line that he had made. And I'm like, that's not a decision that I make. This is a decision that this person makes. And he's like, oh, what, you don't want to go ahead and spend your time? I'm like, no, it's not about me not wanting to spend the time. It's just not my role. And I have respect for the employee that I have under my employ that I trust with the authority to make those decisions on those matters. And I'm not going to disrespect their position or their person in interacting with you on this and going behind their back. That is not what I'm going to do. You can go ahead and handle it with them, or we can just not interact, and that's fine. And they were not accustomed to somebody speaking with them so directly. Mm-hmm. And it's like, look, it's not a matter of I don't want to. The matter is it's a matter of respect. Mm-hmm. And I respect my staff and what position they hold in my organization, so I'm not going to go ahead and step on their toes. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really a hallmark of the culture where they just don't realize, they don't take the time to think about how this affects other people.
Yeah.
They have their narrow view of things, and that's it. That must be all there is. There couldn't possibly be any other reasoning.
Sure, and I think that's pervasive in all of society, right? Is the idea of considering others, but not letting that consideration lord over you, right? There's a difference. Mm-hmm. You can be considerate and not fold to everything. And that comes, well in time with the next bit of emotional boundaries, of not letting yourself be manipulated or guilted or emotionally blackmailed to steer your decision-making process. What do you think about that?
Not everybody belongs in the circle of trust.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, you need to regularly vet people, even people that have been, you guys have been acquaintances, friends in a relationship for, X many years. You still need to kind of take time to reevaluate, because honestly, telling a hard truth that not everybody stays for the long haul. Yeah. Actually, I would dare to say that most people do not stay for the long haul. Mm-hmm. They're there for a season, not for a reason.
Yeah. That's really funny because we got Final Fantasy Tactics, like the new re-release, because hey, they re-released it for the Switch and Switch 2 and all of that. And one of the updates in the game is they made it a point to let you know when guest characters were coming and leaving from your party. Mm-hmm. And to provide some fanfare in that specific little scene of them coming or going.
Yeah.
Whereas in the original game, that wasn't the case. It would just be like, they're gone.
There's a little message that pops up. They left the party.
Yeah, that was it.
It's like, okay.
Right? Whereas
bye.
you were drawing attention to that fact. But you're right. I mean, some people are a part of your story for a chapter. Mm-hmm. Some people are a part of your story for a paragraph. Mm-hmm. And some people are part of the story from cover to cover. And you need to really take the time and consider, what are the character traits of the people that you want in your story? And to encourage them and to build them up in their story as well.
It is definitely, a give and take. But if it's more give than take, then you need to reevaluate it.
Sure. And this isn't to say that you should go ahead and like penny pinch every interaction to look
No.
for that. But if there is a like gross imbalance and there's no like real rational reason why that's the case, then maybe it's time to go ahead and look at the balance of how that relationship is going.
Yeah, I've seen too many people get taken advantage of, myself included.
Right?
And it's interesting that when you start to stand up for yourself, that is when the shaming is the loudest.
Oh, yeah. Because they're not getting what they would get out of you beforehand. And I think it's interesting because in that circumstance, I remember for months I was like, hey, you might want to take a look at this because I'm seeing
Yeah.
something that you might not be seeing. And it wasn't until you experienced it yourself that you're like, oh, yeah, you might have been right.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, usually you're a good reader of people.
Yeah.
The trick is so am I. So it's like, let's figure things out. Now, what about the whole like manipulation thing? I think this is something that men could really use some reinforcement on because they are consistently manipulated and shamed from all angles. What do you think about that piece? Because you've seen like women manipulating their husbands all over social media, and you have a specific perspective about that.
Well, honestly, I'm just disgusted. Like and it starts so subtly.
Mm-hmm.
That is my insane, like that is just where I find just the insanity of it all. It starts so subtly, and they'll just push a little bit and push a little more. And if you give them a millimeter, they'll take the whole thing. They'll take a whole 66 miles. I don't know. But it's sad to see that there's just these little, almost like, that, what is that cliche, like progressive term? Microaggression.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That kind of thing where it's just like, you just like intonation of the voice.
Right.
Like that little bit, and he ignores it. And then a little bit of, well, I didn't want you to do that. Well, I did it. Whatever. The complacency. And that is the problem. And then all of a sudden, you are at this point, you're like, how did I get here? And it's interesting because in the cruelest twist of irony, it becomes that she leaves him.
Yeah.
For all the things she did to him, but he was complacent about.
Or he was accepting of.
Yeah.
Or he just let
took
it happen.
Yeah, he took it. And it was just like, and then all of a sudden it's like that whole thing where how did I end up here?
Sure. He gets punched in the face with the phone, right? Because she keeps putting the nickels in the...
Exactly. More nickels in your handset.
And then all of a sudden,
Well, take 'em
bam!
out.
There it is.
You get punched in the face by your own self.
Sure.
By your just standing by, idle. It's like, do not give an inch. And the biggest thing is the next thing of knowing who you are.
Yeah.
Knowing your morals and ethics and the tenets of who you are at your core and what you're about.
And I think this is really challenging for people because going back to earlier in the conversation where very few people have definitive foundational beliefs on which they're willing to stand. A lot of times they just kind of go with the flow of the society around them. And we know that society changes like shifting sands because their messaging changes like every 5 years or so.
Preview for the next one.
Yeah, right? But I think it's really important to know who you are and to know what you believe in and to know whose you are and to stand up for that.
To know where you're going with all of this.
Yeah.
And if that is in direct conflict with that, don't accept it. Unsubscribe.
Sure. So we talked about 4 types of boundaries. Those are physical boundaries, time boundaries, emotional boundaries, and moral and value related boundaries. So let's go ahead and talk about...
Moral and value boundaries are the most foundational to all of this.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and talk about examples of boundaries in action in different kinds of like real life areas. So at work, this might be the matter of, hey, you have a priority to get home to your family, but somebody tries to go ahead and put some extra work on you in the last 10 minutes of your shift. And it's like, saying no to that is okay most of the time. Because if they're trying to go ahead and disrespect your time with your family over this kind of thing, and they didn't have the foresight to give that to you in a reasonable amount of time for you to go and handle it appropriately, then that's a them problem. That's not a you problem.
Especially if they're not going to compensate you anything extra for that work.
I think generally that's not an issue. I think generally if you're paid hourly, they're not going to go ahead and say, oh, hey, get off the clock and handle this work. And if your employer asks you to do work off the clock, do not.
I work for HR. That's illegal.
It's illegal. Don't do that. And if you are an employer, do not ask your employees to do that. If they're doing work for you, compensate them accordingly, please.
That's just icky.
Right? And so that's the idea, is like respect people's family time. Or if you're the employee in that case, know where your priorities are, because maybe you are in a position where you're trying to get ahead in your organization, and maybe that task is something to help you get ahead. Make the decisions according to your own priorities. If your priority is getting ahead, then get ahead. If your priority is getting home to the family, then get home to the family. But know that every step of the way that those decisions have consequences.
Especially if you don't have a 9 to 5 and like your schedule or your, routine is more flexible, you can really get lost in the weeds of not protecting your time while you're, working and doing all these things, and your personal time. That what they call it, work-life balance thing.
Sure.
It's a cliche thing. But either way, and especially, I've been looking at a lot of different planning stuff and productivity stuff and all of that. But the best real practical application is what's called time blocking.
Okay.
So if you have a specific amount of time to do appointments or answer emails or something, you could just schedule it for that time, and that is the best way to build this habit of protecting your time for certain aspects of your life.
Yeah, generally speaking, I don't take any appointments before 10 a.m. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
And I generally don't take business appointments after 5. So 10 to 5 is usually where people can go ahead and find a spot on my calendar.
Yeah. Whereas me, I have a lot of specialist appointments and stuff like medical appointments, and I'd rather do that before my kids get up. Because I have teenagers, the kids are safe, the house is not going to blow up. So I usually have my appointments scheduled early as possible in the morning. It really sucks to get up that early, but at least I'll be seen in a tight hour, half hour, and I can go about the rest of my life, which is good. Plus, I just tell them, hey, I can't do it on this day. I'm teaching, that kind of stuff. When we're here, my whole day is blocked out. So it's Thursday and Friday. It's forget it.
Right. Well, and it's fun because in those ways, oftentimes we get to go ahead and take time for ourselves in the middle of that. Is say you have a doctor's appointment and I got to go ahead and be there with you. We'll go out to lunch afterwards or something like that. So we get to go ahead and sneak away and have a good time together.
Yeah.
As part of that process. But so let's see, that's an example of work is, hey, saying no to extra work if it conflicts with other priorities that you have going on. In dating, this is dudes walking away if she disrespects you early on in the dating process. If you are a guy that acts in a respectable manner and she disrespects you, that's a huge red flag and you probably shouldn't entertain it.
Even a little bit. Rolling your eyes at stuff you say. You're trying to, have a good time. You're genuinely having a good time and she's just rolling her eyes. That's a red flag.
Sure. Or you could just check it to start. Give her a warning shot because maybe she's never had anybody tell her no.
Probably that's the case.
Because there's a lot of pretty girls out there that no guy has ever told her no.
They get away with everything.
Right? And so that's a way that you can stand out is if she's never been told no and you look at her and you go, what are you doing? And finally she's like, wait, what do you mean? You might be that guy that goes ahead and gets her to go ahead and reconsider some of the things that she's been doing because nobody has taken the time to give her any kind of resistance.
You think Henry Cavill gets any guff for painting Warhammer minis?
No.
Exactly.
Right?
You shouldn't take it either. If you have a hobby that genuinely gives you joy, she should not shame you for that.
Sure.
It's shaming, no matter what. You go, oh, that's so silly. Shaming. That's shaming. Don't fall for that.
Right. If you are going ahead and doing something that is not worthy of shame, do not accept shame in response for
Because
it.
she wouldn't, accept shame from you about buying shoes or purses or whatever else.
Whatever her hobby
Going
is.
to Taylor Swift concert, whatever.
Right. Another thing in dating is like, don't tolerate flakiness. Like if you're supposed to go ahead and be there at 7 and she sends you a text at 7:05 and says, "Oh, sorry, I'm stuck in traffic. I'll be there in 15 minutes." Make a decision whether that makes sense or not to you.
Or at least clock it. Be tracking that, put that on your radar. And if it happens consistently, then it's like, do I really want to be with this person?
Right? Where I have too much respect for my time to go ahead and let that be a thing. Like if I was back in the dating world, like that would be a thing that would end up being a huge red flag for me is, hey, we said 7 o'clock and you're calling me 5 minutes afterwards to go ahead and say that you're late. No. You didn't care enough about what's going on to make the time to be here early. That tells me that there's not enough here.
Especially when you're like, your phone can connect to your car now.
Right.
It's not like back when we were dating. It's like the cell phone and put the thing up. Hello?
Oh, like satellite phones?
the little cell phone with the curly cord.
Jeez.
You could just go and push a button now. It's like, call this person,
Or voice commands
It's not
or whatever.
that hard.
But yeah, so another example would be in marriage is an idea of protecting your standards while still being loving, right? Mm-hmm. So I can tell you no, but I can tell you no in a loving manner. Mm-hmm. And I can go ahead and give you, time permitting, a reasoned and rational reason as to why I'm telling you no. Mm-hmm. And to take time to give you a hug and let you cry it out if it's something that gives you an emotional ruffle or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And then we can go on with our lives. Just because you tell her no doesn't mean that you don't love her. And I think that that's a thing that is crazy in our society is a lot of times people will take disagreement as hatred.
Yeah, sometimes you got to tell her no because you love her.
Yeah. It's like you're telling her no because you are protecting her. Mm-hmm. Let's see. So those are some examples. Oh, friends and family. Not tolerating toxic patterns in friends and family. It's okay to cut off your family.
Snip, snip.
Right? It was like, take time to manicure this. Like, unless you have really specific reasons why you need to interact with these people, if they're not earning a spot in your circle or they're not like conducting themselves in a reasonable manner, you do not have to take that. Right? Don't do that lightly, obviously.
Yeah.
But make sure that you're actually evaluating these things. Like, if you don't get along with this person and you see them every Christmas, it's okay to be on the other side of the house from them most of the time.
Ask me how I know.
Yeah, it's like you don't need to go ahead and like make it obvious. You can just go ahead and protect your peace.
I'm gonna be over here now.
Sure. And you can go ahead and exchange polite pleasantries and leave it there. There are different levels to this thing, it turns out.
Yep. And just like friends, like especially friends who are going to disparage your relationship.
Ooh.
Your focal relationship in your life, and this person who's more important to you than anybody, ostensibly, and you have friends who are just like sowing the seeds of discord. Forget it. Nope. You can't do that.
Well, I mean, it goes back to what are your priorities? Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a clear idea of what your priorities are, you can go ahead and fall for all kinds of things. And this reminds me of just that saying of single women keep women single.
Yep. That is the thing I am talking about. Now, if you have a new relationship that you're in and your friends are like giving you the red signals, the red flags here and there and everywhere, mm-hmm. maybe you should really take time to evaluate that,
Yeah, consider it. Don't take it as gospel, but consider it.
But definitely, that's something entirely different. But what we're talking about mainly is like people are in a relationship, like especially married couples, and then there's like your divorced friends are sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, that's so awful. You should leave him." It's like,
or they're telling
I'm sorry, what?
Or they're telling you about how they've been getting busy, getting bent into a pretzel, and it's like, saying how divorce life is so great, and then like 5 years down the road, they're miserable. And it's like, well, you can't go ahead and judge a person's life on the current 5 minutes of their social media feed.
Yeah.
All right, so next up, how to build and enforce boundaries. Now that we talked about, examples of boundaries, what kinds of boundaries, why you should have boundaries, what does it look like to actually get to building boundaries for yourself? The first step, the very most foundational step, we've been hitting on this time and time again, is know your values. Having your code of conduct for yourself in your life should be the place from which these boundaries flow. And that is a personal set of decisions that you have to make for your life. So make them. Mm-hmm. The second step is to communicate clearly. You don't make excuses for it. You just let people know when a line is crossed, or before a line is crossed. You can give them a warning shot. Mm-hmm. But be clear and firm with your boundaries.
And often less is more in this case.
Sure, you don't have to explain it.
Yeah, you don't have to just actually. If a man will do that, like be like, I can't be. That's not what we're gonna do because blah 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 A, B, and C, and they like pontificate about all the reasoning and stuff behind it. It makes you look like a waffle. It makes you look all like a soggy waffle.
It makes you look weak.
Yeah,
because and here's the thing: is that they want to ask for an explanation.
That's another thing.
That's another thing entirely, right?
Yeah.
And I think that if they're asking to understand genuinely, that's usually a good sign for that relationship.
Yeah.
Because usually they're asking out of respect.
Especially in a relationship that's not yet established.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to establish your dynamic. You're trying to figure the other person out, their reasoning behind things. That's good. That is actually one of the few positive uses of the shit testing.
Sure.
Like that is a respectful way to do it though.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that like when women use fitness tests or shit tests, they're trying to go ahead and push the boundaries or see if boundaries exist in the first place. And when they don't find a boundary, they're like, oh, okay, well, I could just keep taking
Free
space.
for all.
Yeah. So that's another reason to go ahead and understand where your values are and to establish your boundaries and communicate them clearly, but don't over-explain yourself. The third step is to go ahead and enforce them consistently, because if it's not consistent, then you are just waffling. Mm-hmm. Like a wall of cement is a lot stronger than a wall of Eggo waffles.
Eggo waffles.
Like,
Eggo my Eggo.
Like it'd be really easy to Kool-Aid Man through a wall of Eggo waffles, whereas it would be substantially more difficult to Kool-Aid Man through a cement wall.
I'd like to see that.
A Kool-Aid Man through
Kool-Aid Man
through Eggo waffles. We're waffling here.
Yeah.
I can just imagine the Kool-Aid Man with a couple of like jugs of maple syrup.
Oh my gosh.
Well, there you go.
So rolling the chaotic snowball.
Sure, why not?
This is who we are, really.
But anyhow, so if you enforce them consistently, then it's like a cement wall, and it's something that people can go ahead and look at and know what to expect. Mm-hmm. Because being able to provide solid expectations for other people help them to have comfort in knowing how you're likely to react to things. And you are much more respectable when you are more a known quantity.
Not an inch. Not an inch.
Do not give an inch. And the fourth step is to be able to accept loss. So this goes back to the whole like, hey, telling your wife no and understanding that maybe early on in the process, she'll ask you or she'll tell you to sleep on the couch. And at some point, it's much better for you to just tell her no and accept that the possibility exists and lose out on a night than to go ahead and have a problem where you're like just dying to get once a week. As if that's like some standard that we should go ahead and look at, right?
Rookie numbers.
Rookie numbers. But the idea that telling her no and being willing to accept the fact that something could change or that she'll tell you no, or that she'll tell you no in terms of like access, she is much more likely to respect you because you are telling her no and you are firm and you do not care that there are consequences because you've already counted on the consequences in the first place.
This makes you more reliable. I'm going to say the weird thing. It actually makes you more of someone that she can rely on because you are constant.
Yeah, and she's not going to bend to your or he's not going to bend to your manipulations.
And we know that women are not constant. So this is good. It's
Sure.
a good dynamic, actually.
And if we're being really honest, women do not want to be with men that they can manipulate. They
Yep.
would much rather be with.
He's too nice.
Then you end up with he's too nice, and they divorce the guy that on the surface looks like
Yeah.
he checks all the boxes. But the boxes were there on her checklist that she put, and she puts new ones all along the way.
Moving the goalposts constantly.
And he just jumps through the hoops. Now that we talked about how to go about doing this, this setting of boundaries, it's important to know that your boundaries are your armor. It is something that you have to protect you and to protect your time and to protect your being and to protect your mental health and all your facets of health by setting and enforcing these boundaries. And when somebody else takes a look at you and you have boundaries, you are much more likely to be respectable in the community of men. Because most men do not trust others that do not have standards. Like if I can see that somebody is willing to kowtow to whatever is convenient at the time, he's not trustworthy.
You're going to renege on a business deal.
Because at any point in the future, he can go ahead and stab you in the back.
When it suits him.
When it suits them. Whereas I would much rather associate myself with other men of high character and high standards that have boundaries that they enforce consistently than the alternative. And I think for the most part, women deep down inside want that same thing for very different reasons.
Yes.
Now, one thing to go ahead and take away is that nice guys get crushed because they trade boundaries for pleasing other people. And they don't take the time to consider their own priorities and their own foundation. What advice do you have to women in this?
Find somebody who has a vision, who knows who they are, who knows what they want. And if that is something you can get alongside, do that. Build with them. And you will build the foundation for a solid relationship, a wonderful family, and that beautiful 90th birthday big family reunion party. And I look forward to that. That's what I look forward to. And I mean, I speak from experience. It's just like if you get on board, you can, you don't have to worry about every little thing. Like we have enough to, do in a small bubble. You don't have to worry about how the bills are going to get paid. You don't have to worry about, where you're going to be, where you're going to live, what you're going to drive. It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't have to be like the best of everything, but it will be there and it will be constant. And it's wonderful to rest in that. We have enough to worry us in life in general. Like at least the logistics are cared for, especially for you and for your children. It's the best thing ever. I wish women just would get out of their own way.
And I would say that strong men get respect because of the boundaries they hold and because they know what they want and because they know what's important in life. And if you don't know that yet, it's okay. You have time to consider the things that are important to you. If you want to know more, go ahead and hit up the comment section so that we can go ahead and talk some more. I invite you to establish your boundaries and to set up your armor and to set up your perimeter in your castle so that you can have the respect that should be afforded to you when you act in a respectable manner. Go ahead and hit up the comment section, hit the like and subscribe button. Have a fantastic day, everybody.